Yeah, as per the syllabus, we have almost complete all the topics from all the blocks. The only things which is left today is from the block fifth, that is conflict and negotiation. Group discussion has been discussed in the last class. Then we have customer care and customer relations, that is CRM, as well as business communication and information technology. So these topics will be covered today. Let me start the class with the very first topic, that is the conflict. Conflict, we can say, is an inherent part of functioning of any group or person or organization. Conflict have positive or negative effect to the organization. Conflict management has therefore become more important job of manager in modern times. Also, we can say that conflict is a situation in which interdependent people express or they manifest differences in satisfying their individual needs and interest, and they experience interference from each other in accomplishing these goals. Also, conflict is a competition between interdependent parties who perceive that they have incompatible needs, goals, desires, and ideas. Now, let us discuss few definitions of conflict. The very first definition was given by John W. Newstrom and Keith Davis. They say that conflict is any situation in which two or more parties feel themselves in opposition. So what they are saying ki conflict is kind of a situation where two or more people are feeling that they are in a state of opposition, right? Like one is saying something and the other party is saying something. So this is the definition given by John W. Newstrom and Keith Lewis. Another definition we have that was given by Stephen P. Robbins. He says that conflict is a process that begins when one party perceives that another party has negatively affected or is about to negatively affect something that the first party cares about, right? So this is what Stephen P. Robbins says. He इट्स अबाउट आर परसेप्शन कि कभी कभी हम सोच लेते हैं कि सामने वाला हमारे बारे में क्या सोच रहा है, सो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दैट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अराइज हो जाता है. सो दो देर आर नो फैक्ट्स, बट इट्स अबाउट इन आर परसेप्शन कि हम ऐसा सोच लेते हैं. Now next, coming to characteristics of conflict. Well, when we analyze these kind of definitions, certain characteristics comes out, right? So what are they? Let's see. The first one is conflict arise at different level. They may be individual level, that is within yourself, or groups, or at organization level. So this is the first characteristic. Next would be conflict are caused by disagreements between the person or groups over the ways of attainment of goals, sharing of resources and roles to be played. अब किस बात पे डिसएग्रीमेंट या किस बात पे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो सकता है? दीज कुड बी हम किस तरह से अपने गोल को अचीव करना चाहते हैं. हो सकता है जो हमारा काउंटर पार्ट है वो कुछ और सोचता हो, बट हम कुछ और तरीके से सोच रहे हो, तो वहां पे हम एज अ ग्रुप इफ वी आर वर्किंग तो वहां पे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अराइज हो सकता है. देन इफ वी आर शेयरिंग रिसोर्सेस लाइक द सेम रिसोर्सेस, इफ विद इन अ ग्रुप पीपल आर शेयरिंग, देन बिकॉज ऑफ those resources, usage of those resources, conflict may arise. ऑल्सो रोल्स टू बी पेड. अब ग्रुप में सबको अपने अपने रोल्स, एक टीम है या एक ग्रुप है जिसमें सबको अपने अपने रोल्स मालूम है क्या प्ले करने हैं, बट एट सम टाइम पीपल फील लाइक कि नहीं, मुझे ज्यादा काम मिला है, मेरे काउंटर पार्ट को ज्यादा काम नहीं मिला है, या मुझे अच्छा काम नहीं मिला है. सो आउट ऑफ दोस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मे अराइज विद दैट पर्सन और मे बी विद द टीम लीडर और द मैनेजर. Also, conflict have positive as well as negative effect. We'll see ki how conflict has positive effect. In fact, negative effect is very obvious from the term itself ki it has negative effects, but it has positive effects as well. Next is conflict management include both conflict resolving as well as stimulating टेक्निक. स्टिमुलेटिंग टेक्निक्स का मतलब होता है कि हम किसी तरह से किसी सॉल्यूशन पे पहुंच जाएं या वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को खत्म करें, राइट? So these are the characteristics of conflict. Now talking about there are certain approaches of conflict. These are traditional approach as well as modern approach. In the traditional approach, we say that the traditional approach to conflict is that all conflict is bad and it must be avoided. मतलब conflict किसी भी तरह का पॉजिटिव या अच्छा नहीं होता है, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इज बैड ओनली, और उसको अवॉइड करना चाहिए. नेक्स्ट इट सेज दैट इट इज हार्मफुल टू द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. ठीक है. Also, the conflict was viewed negatively and was used synonymously with the term like violence, destruction and irrationality. यानी पहले के टाइम में या जो ट्रेडिशनल अप्रोच कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की है उसको दूसरे टर्म्स की तरह भी यूज कर सकते थे, जैसे कि हम जैसे कि टर्म है वॉयलेंस, डिस्ट्रक्शंस और इरेशनैलिटी. इस इन टर्म्स की जगह भी हम कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को यूज करते थे पहले. दैट वाज द ट्रेडिशनल अप्रोच, बट दैट इज नॉट ट्रू. Also, the traditional approach prevailed during the 1930s and 1940s. These 10 years, it was the prevail. This approach was have been prevailed and was inconsistent with the attributes and views about good behavior prevailing then. It was regarded that poor communication, lack of openness, distrust between people, and failure of managers to respond to needs of aspiration of their employees caused conflict in the organization. Also, the manager should look at the behavior of troublemakers, find out the cause of the conflict, and correct them to improve the group and organization performance. So this was about the traditional approach. This is what traditional approach says. Now we'll talk about the modern approach about conflict. So the modern approach to conflict is that conflict is natural and an inevitable outcome of the organization. So what does it say? The basic concept behind the modern approach is that they are not perceiving a conflict as negative. They are saying that it could be beneficial for the organization as well, right? So they're saying that conflict is natural and inevitable. Inevitable का मतलब कि जिसको avoid ना किया जा सके. And it may not be bad. So traditional approach was like conflict is bad and it should be avoided, but modern approach says that it may not be bad. They are not saying ki it is good, but they are saying it maybe it is not bad. Then Stephen Robbins call his approach as human relation view. उन्होंने बताया इसके बारे में about human relation view about conflict in the modern approach, that this view prevailed from the late 1940s to the mid 1970s. Around 30 years this approach was there, right? So the human relation school advocates the acceptance of conflict. They rationalize its existence and felt that conflict need not be bad and it may benefit the organization. The conflict cannot be eliminated totally. There is a further change in the modern approach from 1970s, which is known as interactionist view, right? So the interactionist view is based on the belief that conflict is not only positive force in a group, but some conflict is absolutely necessary for a group to function effectively. Now what they are saying कि थोड़ा बड़ा conflict जरूरी नहीं है, होना ही चाहिए, मतलब it has to be there. Why? अगर conflict नहीं होगा तो functioning effective नहीं होगी. So that was a modern approach, also known as interactionist view given by Stephen P. Robbins. It states that manager could stimulate conflict and maintain continuously a minimum level of conflict to keep the organization viable, self-critical, and responsive to change. Otherwise, they will become static, right? अगर conflict होगा ही नहीं, disagreement होंगे ही नहीं, तो organization कैसा हो जाएगा? It will become static. कि हाँ, humans will no longer behave like humans. They will become robots, right? So that is the modern view about it. Now, next, we'll talk about the types of conflict. So, there are various types of conflicts categorized differently. So, the very first category over here we can see as substantive conflict and emotional conflict. Well, substantive conflict arise from a fundamental disagreement concerning the ends of goal. Just excuse me for a minute. Yeah. So, talking about substantive conflict arise from a fundamental disagreement uh, concerning the ends or goals to be pursued and the means to achieve them. Like, let's say, an example of substantive conflict is a dispute with a boss or team members over a proposed plan of action, such as marketing strategy for a new product. Well, in the daily collaboration of individuals, diverse perspective on various substantive workforce matter are bound to emerge. Disagreement may occur over team and organization goals, resource allocation, reward distribution, policies, and procedures, as well as task assignments as well. It is normal for people working together to hold differing viewpoints on these substantive issues. Now, the second one, that is the emotional conflict. Well, emotional conflict revolves around interpersonal challenges stemming from emotions such as anger, mistrust, dislike, fear, and resentment. It is also referred as clash of personalities. Emotional conflict is evident in statements like uh, जैसे हम बोलेंगे I can't stand working with him, or she always rubbed me the wrong way, right? Or I would not do that, he asked if you beg me. So इस तरह के sentences हम जब बोलते हैं तो what which kind of a conflict is reflected, that is emotional conflict. Well, when emotional conflict infiltrate work environment, they have the potential to deplete energy and divert attention from task priorities and goals. Well, despite their disruptive nature, emotional conflict are prevalent in various settings, including teams, among co-workers, and in superior subordinate relationships. Right. Next topic over here is functional and dysfunctional conflicts. So, conflict will always occur in any interactive situation. So wherever interaction is taking place, conflict is non. Matlab conflict is like it will be there. So this can result in incremental side effect to the parties involved and to other affected by it occurrence. For example, it can be quite uncomfortable to work in an environment in which two co-workers are continuously hostile towards each other, or two members are always battling for top management attention. So that is the functional conflict. Next would be conflict can have both a functional or constructive side as well as dysfunctional or destructive side. That is the modern approach we are talking about here. Next, under conflict, we have levels of conflict. Well, under levels of conflict, the first one is intrapersonal conflict. Well, intrapersonal conflict occur within an individual and is characterized by cognitive or affective dimensions. This usually involve two competing desires or goals. But in this case, the desires or goals are competing within the same person. Interpersonal conflict refer to the manifestation of incompatibility, inconsistency, or disagreement in a social context between individuals. For example, conflict between peers or between superiors and subordinates in the workplace. Next is intragroup conflict. Well, this is defined by Rahim in 2001. He says it refers to the incompatibility, incongruence, or disagreement among the members of the group or its subgroups regarding goals, functions, or activities of the group. Intergroup conflict consider aggregates of people within an organization, that is work team departments, also as parties in the conflict. As an illustration, two divisions fighting over a scarce fiscal resource are involved in intergroup conflict. So these were the levels of conflict. Also, we have under this intra-organizational conflict and inter-organizational conflict. Well, in intra-organizational conflict, it involves disagreement between organization subsystems. For example, they're saying that cardiology faculty may disagree with pediatric faculty regarding priorities for ordering new medical equipment. In this case, the conflict involved multiple department or units of the organization. So this is how intra-organizational conflict is working. Now, the second one is inter-organizational conflict. So over here, it involves dispute between two or more organizations. So inter-organizational conflict often occurs as a result of competition and the rivalry that characterize two or more firms operating in the same market or vying for the same consulting contract. Example, different energy suppliers may engage in inter-organization conflict when they are competing for a larger market share. Right? So this was quite enough for conflict. Let me check the syllabus and here I've closed it. Give me a moment, please. I'll check the syllabus. So I'm talking about conflict. We have conflict and negotiation. So the next topic is negotiation. Okay, quickly move towards it. Yeah, negotiation. Well, talking about negotiation, negotiation is a method by which people settle, like जैसे कि हमने conflict में पढ़ा, तो conflict we were talking again and again about resolution of the conflict. Now negotiation is a one way through which these conflict can be resolved. So let's see what it is. Negotiation is a method by which people settle differences. It is a process by which compromise or agreement is reached while avoiding argument and dispute. Now, talking about the process of negotiation, it includes following stages. The first one is the preparation. So, under preparation, why the conflict has arrived and what is the disagreement has been sorted out from both the parties, right? So, the first party, whatever the first party is saying, that will also recorded, and second party is saying whatever the information the second party is giving, that will also be recorded. Now, we will also make a preparation that who will be the negotiator between the two parties. So this will all come under the preparation part. Next is discussion. Now, it is not necessary that there will be a negotiator between the parties. There will be negotiator and there will not be a negotiator. Now, again, when we are talking about a negotiator, that is a neutral person who will resolve the conflict, who will negotiate between the two parties. There are various kind of negotiators, so that is not required over here. So Discussion will take place between the parties and the negotiator. Now again, it is not necessary that negotiator has to be there. Next step will be clarification of goals. Now, when the negotiator is sitting between both the parties, then each party will put up their part. They will explain what are the issues coming, what are the actual conflict between the two, and what is the disagreement between the two. This has to be done for both the parties. So, negotiator will listen to the both of parties, and he will check out the facts as well. And the goals are being clarified. Then negotiate towards a win-win outcome. Now the negotiator will try कि by win-win outcome means कि जो दोनों ही parties है उसमें से किसी का भी नुकसान नहीं होना, तो किसी ऐसा सॉल्यूशन पे दे विल कम टुवर्ड्स कि दोनों का नुकसान नहीं होना और दोनों को ही विन विन आउटकम मिलना. विन विन आउटकम मतलब किसी को भी हम ऐसा नहीं कर रहे हैं कि हम किसी का लॉस कर रहे हैं और किसी का प्रॉफिट हो रहा है. बोथ द पार्टीज विल रीच टुवर्ड्स अ विन विन आउटकम. Next stage is the agreement stage. Over here, the agreement will take place, whether it would be verbal or written agreement. कि हाँ, this was the dispute between us, or the disagreement or the conflict between us, and through negotiator we have come to this solution, and that will be recorded, whether orally or in written form. So that is the agreement. Next is implementation of a course of action. So whatever they have come, outcome जो आया है through negotiation, that will be implemented. So this is how negotiation takes place. Okay. Now the next topic we will cover is customer relationship management. Well, customer relationship management is a process in which a business or other organization administer its interaction with customers, typically using data analysis to study large amount of information. Also, CRM systems compile data from a range of different communication channels, including a company's website, telephone, email, live chat, marketing materials, and more recently, social media. They allow businesses to learn more about their target audiences and how to best cater for their needs, thus retaining customers and driving sales growth. Okay. Now the next topic is information and communication technologies, that is ICT. Well, ICT is technology that is used to handle communication processes such as telecommunication, broadcast media, intelligent building management system, audio video, audio visual processing and transmission systems, and network based control and monitoring functions. Although ITC is often considered an extended synonym for information technology, its scope is in some ways broader. ICT is often used in academics and educational institutions for audiovisual presentations, learning management system, and assessment apps to help assess the progress of the students. Next, we will see where ICTs are being used. Acha, before that, we'll look into the components used for ICT. So we have cloud computing, software, hardware, transactions, communication technology, data, and internet are the components of ICT. Now, the ICT systems are used in number of environments, such as offices, shops, factories, aircraft, and ships. They are, as I have also already discussed, that they are also used in fields such as communications, medicines, farming, etc. ICT systems are in some way common and ordinary, yet they are extraordinary in how they add extra capabilities to what we do and want to do. So this was about ICTs. Now, please give me a moment, a minute or two. I'll check into the वैसे तो पूरा का पूरा syllabus we have already covered, but give me a moment. I'll check If any topic has been remaining, we will cover that topic. Just a minute, please. So, as we have already discussed all the topics and the syllabus, just now I have checked. So, still we have time. So, I would like to discuss a few important points about non-verbal communication. In non-verbal communication, behavior and elements of a speech aside from word themselves that transmit meaning. Non-verbal communication include pitch, speed, tone, volume of voice, gestures and facial expression, body posture, proximity to the listener, that means how far the listener is standing, eye movement and eye contact, as well as dress and appearances also play an important role in non-verbal communication. So, which class is this? This is business communication class. Yeah. So, talking about nonverbal communication, um, research suggests that only 5% effect is produced by the spoken words and 45% by the tone, inflection, and other elements of voice, and 50% of body language, movement, and eye contacts. So, this is how non-verbal communication contributes towards effective communication process. Now we'll talk by these non-verbal communication one by one. The very first one is body language. Well, some parts of our body can express many indications without any sound. Message can be transmitted with the help of our body movement, which is called body language. Body language is a form of non-verbal communication which consists of posture, gestures, facial expression, and body movement. Well, talking about facial expressions, uh, a facial expression is, give me 1 minute, please. Yeah. So the facial expression is one or more motions or positions of the muscle in the skin or face. These movements convey the emotional state of the individual to observers. Facial expression for happiness, sadness, anger, and fear are similar throughout the world. A proverb says, face is the index of mind. Let's say by waving our hand, we express goodbye, right? By shaking our head from side to side, we express we do not know anything. So this is how we use facial expression. Next would be gestures. Well, gestures refers to visible bodily actions communicate particular message, which includes movement of the hands, face, eyes, head, or other part of the body. Common gestures include waving, pointing, and using fingers to indicate numerical amounts. Cultural specific gestures that can be used as replacement for words, such as hand wave used in Western culture for hello or goodbye, right? Next is the posture. Well, posture indicates the position in which we hold the body when standing or sitting. It can help to communicate non-verbally. Consider the following action and note cultural differences. Okay. So Next is eyes and eye contact. Well, eye contact indicates looking, staring, and blinking, which is important in nonverbal behavior. Looking at another person can indicate a range of emotions, including attention, interest, and attraction. It defines power and status and has a central role in managing impression of others. Next is appearance and dress. Well, external appearance also play a vital role to communicate others. Our clothes, dress provide a good visual signal to our interest, age, personality, taste, and gender. Our choice of color, clothing, hairstyles, and other factors affecting appearance are also considered a means of nonverbal and can evoke different moods as well. Consider differing cultural standard on what is attractive in dress and what constitute modesty. Let's say an example like seeing the dress of army officer, we can easily determine the job status, right? So this is how appearance and dress plays an important role in nonverbal communication. Next would be the touch. Well, touch is culturally determined, but each culture has a clear concept of what part of body one may not touch. Basic message of touch is to affect or control product, protect, support, and disapprove. Next is silence. Well, silence is another form of nonverbal communication which express the positive or negative meaning of particular messages. In a classroom, silence indicates that students are listening carefully and attentively. Space or proximity. Next one. That is, people often refer to their need for personal space, which are also important type of nonverbal communication. The physical distance between you and others signals your level of intimacy as well as comfort. If someone you don't know stand too close or touches too often, you will probably begin to feel uncomfortable, right? That is very likely. Next one is time. Well, another type of nonverbal communication involves time. That is how we give meaning to time communicates to other. For example, being late in work, a worker can be considered as a man of carelessness. But if a manager does it, we say it is a symbol of power. We know time can play a vital role to reduce tension, conflict among groups. It is said that kill the time to delay the justice. Next category under nonverbal is paralinguistic, that is tone and volume of voice. Well, paralinguistic refer to vocal communication that is separate from actual language. Paralanguage also include such vocal characteristics as rate, pitch, inflection, volume, and quality of sound. Vocal characteristics like laughing, crying, yelling, moaning, these send different messages in different cultures. Vocal qualifiers like volume, pitch, rhythm, tone, loudness indicates strength in Arabic cultures, and softness indicates weakness, indicates confidence and authority to the Germans. It indicates impoliteness to the Thais and indicates loss of control to the Japanese. So see how loudness is including different in different cultures. Arabic are saying that it is the strength, and Germans are telling that it is a way of telling confidence and authority, and Thai are saying that it indicates impoliteness. So this is how vocal qualifier works in nonverbal communication. Next one is visual communication. So when communication take place by means of any visual aid, it is known as visual communication, such as facial expressions, gestures, eye contact, signals, map, chart, posters, etc. For example, to indicate danger, we use red sign. To indicate no smoking, we use an image showing a lighted cigarette with cross mark on it. Next one is a face-to-face communication. Well, when in a small group of people, only two-person involve them in informal talking. When they come face to face, it is called face to face communication. In other word, when two or more person talk to each other and see each other physically, it can be termed as face to face communication. It is one kind of a two-way oral communication as both the parties are involved here in conversation. Hence, all the informal talks that take place when people come face to face are considered as face to face conversation. However, telephonic conversation cannot be termed as face to face conversation, though it is an oral communication. Now, talking about the characteristics of face to face communication. Well, face to face communication is an informal oral communication technique. It has some unique characteristics that are not found in communication method. The important characteristics are as follows. The first one is straight communication. The important feature of face-to-face communication is that it is very much direct or straight. The parties involved in face-to-face communication exchange message directly without using any media. No other communication technique is as direct as it is. Next is informal. Well, face-to-face communication is very informal. Under this method, the sender and the receiver exchange messages freely and openly. No formalities are maintained here. Next is mutual relation. In a face-to-face communication depend on the mutual relationship between the sender and receiver of the message. Nobody can interfere in such type of communication. No cost communication. Face-to-face communication is a no cost communication in nature as it does not require any instrumental arrangement. So nothing external is required for face-to-face communication. So no cost has been incurred. Well, in most of the cases, communication take place in form of face-to-face conversation only because of its nature. It is widely used in every sphere of life. Also, face-to-face communication or communication does not have any legal acceptability as it is not written. So face-to-face communication is almost like invisible communication. It often helps to spread rumor that may create a negative image of the organization. Another important characteristic of it uh, is that here the facial expression of the sender and the receivers has immense effect of the entire communication or conversation process. Also, it is an important nature of this communication is that it produces instant and quick feedback. So this was all about non-verbal communication. So with this, almost all the topics have been covered for your paper business communication. Still, if any doubts are there, anything you need to discuss or any notes are required, I am putting my email address in the chat box. You all can contact me on my email and ask for the PPT if you want or any other notes if you require for the subject. So this was all for your this paper. I will be there around 10 minutes. I'm here. If anybody need to ask any question regarding the subject or any clarification is required, please contact me, put your message in the chat box or you can unmute and ask a question. Thank you.